Welcome to Combat Mission Final Blitzkrieg, now on Steam. This means that the entire Combat Mission franchise is now available on Steam, except for Combat Mission Afghanistan because of legal reasons. And as an added bonus, the long-awaited Downfall module is available at the same time, so we have some new content to play with as well. The Final Blitzkrieg base game takes the Western Europe theatre from the end of Market Garden through to January 1945 and the end of the Battle of the Bulge. Downfall now extends the timeline all the way to the 8th of May and the end of the war, introducing the British and Commonwealth forces alongside some new American units and the late war German kit from Fire and Rubble. What I'm going to do in this quick video is run through some of my personal highlights, stuff I've been looking forward to. First off, there's the M26 Pershing. This is an American heavy tank that arrived in Europe for field testing in the closing phase of the war. It's not only heavily armoured, but carries a 90mm gun and is capable of tackling the big cats. Famously, there is some footage of a tank duel between a Pershing and a Panther in the shadow of Cologne's ruined cathedral. We have Pershings, we have Panthers, and we not only have a map of Cologne, but one of the new campaigns focuses on the battle for that city, so you know that that tank duel is going to crop up. The Americans also get a handful of new Sherman variants, including a hybrid or composite late M4, newer 76mm variants with the muzzle brake, and a later war Sherman Jumbo with even more add-on armour. Now that we've probably got all the Shermans we're going to get in Combat Mission, I guess I can't put off the Sherman unit guide any longer, so watch this space. Also appearing for the US, specifically for the US Airborne, is the M18 Recoiless rifle. This is a 57mm weapon with heat and HE rounds. It's slightly less effective at armour penetration than the bazooka due to the lower calibre and smaller heat warhead, but fired rounds have a much higher muzzle velocity and thus a much flatter trajectory, making them much more accurate than the bazooka. It can also, apparently, engage way out beyond 3,000 metres, which is nice, but I'll be impressed if I ever see it. Those are some of the additions to the pretty comprehensive US roster that already exists in Final Blitzkrieg. The British and Commonwealth forces, namely the Brits, Canadians and Poles, are getting transplanted over en masse. They have all their late war gear and organisations as featured in Fortress Italy's Rome to Victory module. These haven't changed that much from Battle for Normandy, but there are some new exciting toys in there. First and foremost, we have Comets. These are what the British would call a cruiser tank, as opposed to an infantry tank like the Churchill. To massively oversimplify, the Comet is basically a Cromwell armed with a 17-pounder gun. It's fast, it can hit pretty hard, it'll struggle against the frontal armour of things like Panthers, but the side is easy prey, and it can't really take a hit. Regardless, it's a major step forward for British armour in World War II Combat Mission. Also getting a new tank are the British Airborne forces. They've got access to the M22 Locust. As the M designation implies, this is an American design. It's a light tank intended to be delivered to the battlefield via glider. The Americans never used them, which may have been a really good idea. The Brits brought a few with them in Operation Varsity, the airborne component of the Rhine crossing. In practical terms, the Locust is a light tank with extra emphasis on the light part. It's got to fly after all. So it's lightly armed and armoured, the gun is just a 37mm, and while tank is generally better than no tank, it's got a very niche and not very survivable role. In line with the other factions in Final Blitzkrieg, British tanks now have passenger slots for tank riders. There's a lot of tactical flexibility you can get from tank riders, providing they're not being shot at, and I, for one, am pretty stoked to have that option with the Brits. That's not the only new transport option available to the British. There are also Stewart and Rang Kangaroos. These are tanks with the turret removed and the leftover space used for carrying infantry. They are armoured personnel carriers in the literal sense of the phrase. As an option for getting infantry across danger areas under protection from small arms firing shrapnel, they're invaluable. By far, the British vehicle I'm most excited about, though, is the Wasp. The Wasp is a transfer over from Fortress Italy, so it's not exactly new, but I love it so much I don't really care. It's very simple, it's a universal carrier mounting a flamethrower. Not one of the piddly little flamethrowers you get on the American or German flamethrower tanks featured in Final Blitzkrieg. The Wasp's flame projector can toast things out to 96 meters. It's a fast, low-profile little burninator. If you're cheeky, you can use it for indirect fire. It'll torch stubborn enemy infantry out of buildings no problem, and it is directly integrated into infantry battalions as an option for up to 2 of the support company's carrier sections. The Germans are here as well. I didn't catch anything major that I haven't seen before. There's all the pre-existing stuff from Final Blitzkrieg, plus almost everything from Fire and Rubble, so there's the full spread, variety and insanity of the late war Germans. Everything from Kriegsmarine crews and Volkssturm battalions to concrete-covered Stugs and Panther turret bunkers. What is new is that we are fighting almost entirely in Germany. There are 8 new master maps, mostly concentrated on Germany's western border. These are all fantastic. I can't wait to play over some of these or shamelessly cut them up to make my own scenarios. And of course they're backed up by the master maps from the base game, which mostly focus on the Battle of the Bulge. In contrast with the heavily forested hilly Ardennes terrain though, the new maps are generally much flatter. There look to be a lot more dispersed urban areas, small towns, villages and farms. There's a lot of agricultural land that makes for good tank country, and there's a lot of ruined towns and villages that the Allies are fighting over on their way to the Elbe. Downfall comes with 3 new campaigns, each of which has easy and hard versions. In the easy ones, the player's force gets more replacements and resupply as the campaign progresses than they do in the hard ones. I really like that. That's a really good way to make the campaigns less punishing and more accessible if that's what a player wants. Each of the major factions gets a campaign. The British campaign is Claymores through Cleve, focusing on the 15th Scottish Division in Operation Veritable, attacking across the Holland-German border towards the city of Cleve. The Americans are going to Cologne in the Spearhead campaign. This follows Task Force Lovelady attacking that city with the aforementioned Pershings. Finally, in the German campaign, the player commands a ragtag collection of units charged with defending the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen. So overall, I think there's lots to look forward to here. I'm really looking forward to using some of the new units. The new maps look amazing. I haven't had a good look at the scenarios yet, but I'm liking the look of all 3 campaigns. Definitely a solid addition to the Final Blitzkrieg base game. There's a lot of content to get through here. So, I hope you find this interesting and useful. I'm going to go and set fire to everything with the Wasp, and I'll catch you in the next video.